Big week one of action in the NFL yesterday. We'll have two more games tonight: Jets, Lions, Rams, Raiders. Two big games for Monday Night Football. But let's check out some of the injuries from yesterday. Aaron Rodgers, we saw what he did. Superman came back from his injury, 3 touchdowns and a comeback later. He's already onto his MVP pace. We'll see him next week. Big injury news for the Titans. Delaney Walker most likely out for the season. Big blow for the tight end. And then their quarterback, Marcus Mariota, left the game, questionable for next week. Blaine Gabbert now possibly is the starting quarterback for the Titans. If Mariota and Walker are both out, the Titans' season may be over after week one. Another big injury for the Seahawks. Doug Baldwin, who had an injury in the preseason, hurt his other knee yesterday. That looks like a significant injury, an MCL sprain. They really don't have any other weapons on that team at the receiver position. Yes, Tyler Lockett caught a touchdown yesterday, but if he's going to be relied on as the main guy, Russell Wilson's going to have problems. Brandon Marshall's a guy that also scored yesterday. He has some value, especially in games where the Seahawks are trailing. So again, Marshall potentially a guy to look at on the waiver wire. I'm sure Tyler Lockett is already on most teams. Another injury, Greg Olsen, another tight end, another star tight end for the Panthers. He left yesterday. He's expected to miss a significant amount of time. No clear replacement that you would want to roster from the Panthers at the tight end position. Big blow for Cam Newton. What this probably means is more Devin Funchess, more Christian McCaffrey. So again, in terms of tight end replacements, we'll get that in a little bit. But I do think Greg Olsen will be out for a little bit of time. Leonard Fournette also left yesterday's game for the Jaguars. Big injury again to their running game ahead of their game against the Patriots next week. TJ Yeldon came on and actually was pretty good. Scored a touchdown in the receiving game. He'd be my top waiver ad this week, especially for Fournette owners. So that's the injury front. When we take a look at some waiver wire moves, Randall Cobb broke out last night. As someone that kept him in my keeper league, I was thrilled to see that performance despite the fact that he was on my bench yesterday, because I think going forward he's going to have the trust with Aaron Rodgers. That team throws it all over the yard. Geronimo Allison's another name on this list that scored yesterday, another Packers receiver. I think get those two guys on your team. They have a tough matchup next week, but I do think they both succeed in that offense considering how much they throw. Alex Smith of the Redskins. I ripped him yesterday in the pregame on the All Out Blitz show because I wasn't too excited, but all this guy does is complete a high percentage of passes and throw touchdowns with little mistakes at all. So again, yesterday, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Did a great job. Can't ask for more from Alex Smith. If you're short a QB, maybe you own Marcus Mariota, or you have Tom Brady next week against the Jaguars' tough defense, Alex Smith is a guy you could look to play next week for sure. Eric Ebron of the Colts, he scored yesterday. Someone that, again, if you're looking to replace one of those injured tight ends, Olsen or Walker, he's a good fit. You know, he looks to have some sort of good chemistry with Andrew Luck, so I would definitely roll the dice there. And then the last name on this list is someone we just talked about, TJ Yeldon. Came on yesterday, was pretty impressive. I don't think he succeeds long-term in this league, or even next week against the Pats, who shut down Lamar Miller and the Texans offense. But he's someone to consider for sure. And then another group of players here, Deshaun Jackson. I mean, we couldn't have all been more wrong about what happened yesterday in New Orleans between the Bucs and the Saints. Deshaun Jackson looked like this was 2009, catching long bombs from Ryan Fitzpatrick, a couple of touchdowns. As long as he's healthy, which he got a little bit banged up during the game, he's a good play next week. Willie Snead resurfaced. He was in New Orleans. Now he's in Baltimore. He scored a touchdown yesterday. So if you're desperate at receiver, if you have someone banged up or out, didn't perform yesterday, he's a good ad on the wire. A couple more receivers. Ryan Grant, the ex-Redskin, who's now in Indianapolis in PPR formats. This guy's looks like he's gonna be one of Luck's favorite targets, especially the fact that they love to throw the ball and dink and duck all up and down the field. And then Philip Dorsett, as a surprise, scored a touchdown for the Patriots yesterday. Had a bunch of receptions, and until Julian Edelman returns, he could be a viable catch guy, especially in PPR formats. I would steer clear of him next week against the Jaguars defense. And the last name on this list is one that is not very common, is Austin Ekeler. Again, in the Fantasy Bonanza game yesterday between the Chiefs and the Chargers, Ekeler did great. He had, I think, 30 yards rushing, had a bunch of catches. I think it was 8 for 85, somewhere around there, and a touchdown. If the Chargers are going to feature him, much like they did Danny Woodhead a few years ago, if you remember, he's going to be a huge ad and a huge asset, especially as a flex play. And then, of course, for all the good, there's the bad. So guys that entered Dropsville after week one. Dak Prescott, yuck. What a disgusting performance that was yesterday against the Panthers. That was terrible. He couldn't find open receivers. He looked skittish in the pocket. He's the guy I'm not touching anywhere moving forward. Cam Meredith. I was big on this guy in the offseason. I thought he'd have a big year in New Orleans. He then didn't even dress yesterday. He was an inactive, healthy scratch. coming back from that major injury last year with the Bears. So until he steps foot on the field, he's got to be someone you drop. And then you got two Pats or ex-Pats. Jeremy Hill left the game yesterday with an injury. Mike Gillislee also had a big key fumble for the Saints yesterday. I don't expect him to be relied on anytime soon for the Saints. Both of those guys can be dropped. And then Devontae Booker. I mean, we all said Royce Freeman before the game. He rushed for 70 yards. They also had Philip Lindsay, the ex-Colorado Buff. He also ran for 71 yards. All said and done, the Broncos offense looked really good yesterday despite 3 Case Keenum interceptions. But he threw over 300 yards, threw for 3 touchdowns. The running game was solid. They beat the Seahawks in their opener. Great way to start the season for the Broncos. Again, if you have any questions, hit me up on the Fantasy Forum 24/7. I'll answer your lineup questions, your waiver wire questions, your trade possibilities, and also obviously touch into the gambling stuff. And again, All Out Blitz, Sunday mornings, 11:45 to 1, take you right up before kickoff. For me, Adam Yakuta, have a great one. And any questions, let us know.